My childhood sweetheart fell in love with a poor student my family sponsored. After the college entrance exams, they planned to elope. On their way to the airport, they were in a car accident. The poor student died on the spot. My childhood sweetheart, devastated, forgot that he had once claimed he only ever loved one person. In the 3rd year of our marriage, he took over my family's company, leaving my family in ruins. Blood debts must be repaid in blood. At the height of my despair, I jumped from a tall building. When I opened my eyes again, I was 19 years old. I had returned to the day Ethan told me he had fallen in love with Lily. Lily, just one kiss. Okay, just one. No way. In the dimly lit room, Ethan was holding the girl he adored, trying to kiss her. I stood at the door, stunned, my mind unable to process what I was seeing. After all, I didn't expect that as soon as I returned, I'd witnessed such a scalding scene. Lily looked up and saw me, panic flashing across her face. She shoved Ethan away and stammered an explanation. Rachel, it's not what you think. There was some dust in my eye, and Ethan was just helping me blow it out. She was terrified of me, and rightly so. Ethan was my childhood sweetheart, and it was highly likely he would become my fiancé in the future. Lily, on the other hand, was just the poor student my family sponsored. I gave her a slight smile, closed the door, and said nonchalantly, "Don't mind me. Carry on." Lily was so flustered that she burst into tears. Ethan couldn't bear to see her cry and rushed out to pull me into a corner. He leaned close to my ear and warned, "Rachel, I could never love you. Behave yourself. If I find out you've been giving Lily a hard time, I won't forgive you." I lifted my gaze slightly to meet his. "And if I don't behave, what will you do?" In my past life, I was a pushover. Ethan, knowing how much I loved him, never hesitated to treat me coldly, but this was the first time I talked back to him. He froze for a moment before gritting his teeth. "Then I'll never speak to you again for the rest of my life." "Is that so?" I mused, nodding thoughtfully. "Got it." Ethan and I had grown up together, and I had always dreamed of becoming his bride someday. But Ethan fell in love with Lily. To be with her, he went to extreme lengths, dropping out of school, going on hunger strikes, even threatening to end his life. Despite everything, his parents refused to accept Lily, insisting he marry someone of equal social standing. With no other options, the two decided to elope. That day, it rained heavily. On their way to the airport, they had a car accident. Lily died instantly, while Ethan suffered severe injuries and was rushed to the hospital. The accident left him with a head injury that caused him to forget Lily entirely. He even claimed that I was the one he loved. After his release from the hospital, Ethan pursued me relentlessly. He confessed his feelings 3 times. I rejected him twice because I feared that one day, if his memories of Lily returned, he would resent me for taking advantage of the situation. On the day of his 3rd confession, it was my 26th birthday. I was on a business trip in Hong Kong when he flew in just to see me. He spent a fortune to organize a fireworks display over Victoria Harbor. "Rachel," he said, "you always tell me that I don't love you, but I've thought about it for a long time, and I want to tell you this. Maybe I loved someone else before, but now, the only person I love is you." The sea breeze blew through my hair as he lowered his gaze to me, his eyes reflecting the falling fireworks. By then, I had loved Ethan for 12 years, and it had been only 7 years had passed. I wasn't a greedy person. To be greedy just once in a lifetime shouldn't be such a curse. With that thought, I allowed myself to hold Ethan's hand, and then, he threw me into hell. After we got married, our family's business ties grew closer than ever. In the 3rd year of our marriage, Ethan convinced my father to invest in a piece of land. When all of my family's money was poured into the project, Ethan told my father that the land was not permitted for development. The shock caused my father to have a heart attack. He didn't survive. I confronted Ethan and asked him why. He looked at me with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Because you killed Lily. Blood debts must be repaid with blood." I was stunned. Only then did I realize Ethan had never lost his memory. He had blamed Lily's death on me all along. He had endured for years, fooling everyone, all to seek revenge for her one day. Your brother's baby isn't even a month old yet, is it? Ethan lit a cigarette, glanced at me indifferently, and said, If you die, I'll let your brother's family live. How about that? I did as he wished and jumped from the high rise. As my body plunged downward, a neglected detail surfaced in my mind. Lily and I shared the same birthday. That fireworks show years ago at Victoria Harbor? It was never meant for me. I went straight to the garden after coming downstairs. It was a weekend. Mom knew I wanted to see Ethan, so she had specifically invited his mother over for afternoon tea. Mom smiled and waved at me. Rachel, Mrs. Bennett and I were just talking about you. I walked over and wrapped my arms around Mom's. Really? What were you two saying about me this time? Only good things, Mrs. Bennett said warmly, looking at me with a kind smile. Rachel's getting prettier and prettier. Ethan is a lucky boy to have her in the future. Her words implied an unspoken assumption about my relationship with Ethan. In the past, such a comment would have made me ecstatic. But now, I didn't want anything to do with Ethan anymore. You've misunderstood, Mrs. Bennett, I said calmly, meeting her gaze. I've always seen Ethan as a brother. I don't like him. Mrs. Bennett froze for a moment. She had always liked me and hoped I would end up with Ethan. Rachel, how could you not like Ethan? Be honest with me. Did he bully you? If he did, I'll teach him a lesson. No, he didn't, I said, looking up just in time to see Ethan walking toward us. I curved my lips into a polite smile. Ethan hasn't bullied me. I really just don't like him. The college entrance exams are coming up, and I only want to focus on my studies. Ethan stopped abruptly. He said nothing, staring at me in stunned silence. Ethan and Lily were deeply in love. Even at school, they were inseparable. Everyone, students and teachers alike, knew they were a couple. But because both of them were good students, the teachers turned a blind eye to their relationship. I thought Ethan and Lily were true love, until I went to the bookstore to buy study guides and saw Lily sharing an ice cream cone with another man. The man looked somewhat familiar. He was dressed in a sharp suit and appeared only a few years older than Lily. He asked her, Does Ethan's mom know about the two of you dating? Has she said anything? Lily shook her head. Ethan's been keeping it a secret from her. He said he would wait until after the college entrance exams to go public. The man suddenly became angry, shoving Lily away with disdain. Wait until his exams are over? Wait until his exams are over? Ethan's family plans to arrange his engagement to the Shun family's heiress after that. What will become of you then? Lily wasn't angry at all. Instead, she gently wrapped her arms around his waist and soothed him. Don't be mad, Noah. I'll figure something out. Whatever you want, I'll help you get it. Noah? No wonder he seemed familiar. In my previous life, I had met him. He was Ethan's older half-brother, Noah Bennett, who had been raised in the countryside. In that life, Ethan smoothly took over the family business with my family's help, while Noah, having failed to seize control, was exiled from the city. I never expected Lily to know Noah. It seemed that Ethan's beloved, pure and innocent Lily wasn't as devoted to him as he thought. I approached Lily and proposed a collaboration, but she didn't trust me, thinking I was just there to cause trouble. Rachel, if you also like Ethan, I'll keep my distance from him. I didn't bother beating around the bush and handed her a folder. After catching her and Noah meeting secretly last time, I had conducted an investigation. Ethan's father was originally from another province. When he was young, he came to this city to make a living. Before marrying Mrs. Bennett, he had a wife who bore him a son, Noah. Later, seeking to climb the social ladder, he abandoned his first wife and child to marry into the Bennett family. 6 years ago, Ethan's father's first wife passed away from illness. On her deathbed, she pleaded with him to take care of Noah, who had just been admitted to university. Out of guilt, he agreed. After Noah graduated, despite Mrs. Bennett's objections, Ethan's father arranged for Noah to work at Bennett Enterprises. As for Lily, she had grown up as Noah's next-door neighbor. She had meticulously gotten close to Ethan, all for Noah's sake. Lily skimmed through the documents I handed her, her face draining of all color. What do you want? I smirked and gestured for her to calm down. Don't misunderstand. I don't intend to hurt your beloved Noah. I just want to make a deal with you. Lily glared at me, her eyes full of caution. I smiled faintly. Relax. Honestly, I've had enough of Ethan for a long time. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Isn't it? To show my sincerity, I shared Mrs. Bennet's weekend plans with Lily. Few days later, while Mrs. Bennet was at a spa, she coincidentally saw Ethan and Lily having coffee together at a nearby cafe. What followed was a public uproar at school. Mrs. Bennet demanded the school take serious action and expel Lily. Ethan was furious. So what if we're in love? Who cares who I'm with? Why should the school expel Lily? Because I'm your mother. Mrs. Bennet. Livett pointed a finger at Ethan and scolded him. And what's your status? And hers? She's nothing but a commoner. You think she's with you for love? She's got ulterior motives. Let me tell you, the only suitable daughter-in-law for the Bennet family is someone like Rachel Shen, who's our equal in status. If you think you can marry someone like her, dream on. At her words, everyone turned their gaze to me. Ethan shot me an angry glare. Of course, Rachel. It had to be you who ratted us out. Before I could deny it, Ethan sneered coldly and grabbed Lily's hand to leave. Furious, Mrs. Bennet slapped Lily across the face in front of everyone. You little tramp. How dare you seduce my son? She didn't hold back. A bright red handprint immediately appeared on Lily's pale cheek. Lily didn't argue with Mrs. Bennet. Instead, she stubbornly turned to Ethan and said, Ethan, are you just going to let your mom humiliate me like this? Yes, I come from a poor family, but does that mean rich people like you are naturally superior? Ethan was at a loss for words. No, Lily, it's not like that. Please, listen to me. Lily covered her face, tears welling up in her eyes. Forget it. We're from two different worlds. Please, stay away from me from now on and don't disrupt my life anymore. With that, she turned and walked away. Ethan, looking desperate, wanted to chase after her but was stopped by the bodyguards Mrs. Bennet had brought along. At my suggestion, Lily wrote Ethan a letter. Mrs. Bennet was determined to break them up, and Ethan hadn't been attending school for days. After class, I went to Ethan's house to deliver his schoolwork. As usual, he greeted me with a hostile look. Who told you to come here? I don't want to see you. Get out of my room right now. Mrs. Bennet stood nearby, her face full of worry. I patted her hand and reassured her. It's okay, Mrs. Bennet. Let me have a word with him. I'll try to talk some sense into him. I closed the door and carefully locked it from the inside. Ethan looked at me with disdain, keeping his distance. Rachel, no matter what you do, I'll never like you. Just give up already. I calmly reached into my bag and pulled out the letter, lowering my voice. Keep it down. I'm just here to deliver a letter from Lily. She doesn't actually want to break up with you. What she said the other day at school was all out of anger. You? Doing something so kind? Ethan scoffed, suspicious, without another word. I shoved the letter into his hands. Why don't you open it and see for yourself? Ethan immediately recognized Lily's handwriting. He read each word with intense focus. When he finished, he grabbed my arm. How is Lily doing now? He asked urgently. Not great, I replied, frowning. Everyone's been talking behind her back, calling her a gold digger and laughing at her. Ethan looked like he couldn't sit still. I'm going to talk to my mom right now. I'll make her let me out. Calm down, I said quickly, grabbing his arm to stop him. Let me give you some advice. If you really want to go out, just play along with your mom for now. Apologize and act like you're listening to her. That'll make things easier for you later. Ethan said nothing, his rebellious nature making it hard for him to lower himself. I pointed to the letter in his hand. Don't forget, Lily is still waiting for you. He stared at me for a long time before finally saying, Rachel, after everything I said to you at school, why are you still helping me? Suppressing the disgust in my heart, I forced a smile. Because you're my friend, Ethan, and I believe that you and Lily are truly in love. You can overcome all the obstacles society throws at you. Don't give up on her. Ethan seemed deeply moved by my words. A 19-year-old boy couldn't see through the performance of a 29-year-old woman. He looked at me with eyes full of gratitude. Lily applied to study at home and moved out of the dorms to rent an apartment off campus. She only came to school for exams. Ethan didn't go looking for her but started spending more time with me. On weekends, he frequently came over to my house. Mrs. Bennet finally relaxed, thinking Ethan had given up on Lily. But little did she know, they hadn't broken up. In fact, the idea for Lily to rent an apartment off campus had come from Ethan himself, worried that the rumors at school would affect Lily's studies. He had asked me to help him find a place for her. During this time, I acted as a go-between, delivering messages for them. I told Ethan that Lily's grades had slipped significantly. Her scores on the last 2 practice exams were far from ideal. Resting my head in my hand, I sighed dramatically. Your grades are so good. Your parents will definitely send you to Peking University. But Lily's scores are much lower than yours. At best, she might get into a second-tier college. That means the 2 of you won't be able to go to the same university. Ethan said nothing, but his grip on his test papers tightened. I added more fuel to the fire. Lily is so beautiful. When she goes to college, there'll definitely be lots of guys chasing after her. What are you going to do about that? With just a week left until the college entrance exams, tutoring probably won't make much of a difference. You can't exactly turn into one of those novel heroes who gets furious enough to change fate. Under my persistent prodding, Ethan's brows furrowed deeper and deeper. Finally, he made up his mind. Rachel, I'm going to drop the physics multiple choice section. I immediately clapped a hand over my mouth, worried he might see the smirk threatening to break across my face. After a moment, I managed to speak. Ethan, you're joking. Right. I'm not joking, he said resolutely. Compared to Lily, Peking University is nothing. I suppressed my laughter and continued to play the part of the concerned friend. This isn't a small matter. Your family will never agree. You should think it over carefully. There's nothing to think about. Ethan's rebellious streak was strong, and he hated being told what to do. He shook his head firmly, his tone unwavering. Rachel, I need you to promise me you won't tell Lily about this. I don't want her to feel any pressure because of me. I nodded with a faint smile, barely hiding my glee. All right. As soon as Ethan left, I received a call from Lily, asking to meet. She arrived with Noah, who was still dressed in his usual suit. For some reason, though, his gaze toward Lily felt different this time. We met at a private dining restaurant. Noah had the staff guide Lily to pick ingredients, discreetly sending her away. When it was just the 2 of us left in the private room, Noah poured me a cup of tea himself. Miss Shun, would you consider ending your collaboration with Lily? Why? I asked. He pulled a photo from his briefcase and placed it in front of me. I glanced at it, and a cold shiver ran down my spine. Noah gave me a faint smile, his tone casual. Last week, I was in Hong Kong for business. By chance, I saw a fireworks display at Victoria Harbor. I thought it was romantic, so I took a picture to commemorate it. What do you think of the fireworks? Miss Shun. My brows furrowed instinctively. I don't like fireworks. Noah took a sip of tea. Is it fireworks you don't like? Or the person who set them off for you? My hands tightened into fists. I'm not one for beating around the bush. Mr. Bennet, if you have something to say it directly. Noah raised an eyebrow. His tone light but his words pointed. If my guess is correct, Miss Shen, you and I share something in common. We're both reborn. My breath caught, and I stared at him in shock. Half a month ago, Noah had been reborn. In his previous life, in his quest for revenge against Ethan's parents, he had used Lily, ultimately causing her death. Afterward, Ethan had driven him out of the city. Not long after that, Noah was diagnosed with a terminal illness. He only lived 6 months longer than I did, blinded by hatred. He hadn't realized how much he valued Lily until after her death. Perhaps because of this lingering regret, he was reborn. Now, Noah's gaze was sharp as he studied me. After being reborn, I noticed some things were different from the last life, but I couldn't figure out why, until I discovered that you and Lily were working together. I finally discovered the reason for the changes. In this life, you no longer have feelings for Ethan. I took a sip of tea, its bitterness spreading across my tongue. The overwhelming love I once felt should have disappeared in the face of a grudge, as deep as my father's death. When my father suffered a heart attack, Ethan had been right there. Not only did he refuse to save him, but he also personally threw away the medication my father carried with him. Noah's expression darkened at my words, his usual calm faltering. I stood up and poured him another cup of tea. You want Lily to stay uninvolved, which is why you want me to terminate our collaboration. It's not that I'm unwilling to see others happy, but your rebirth came too late. She's already in too deep. You should know better than anyone how obsessive Ethan can be. A breeze stirred outside, causing the wind chimes on the curtains to jingle softly. Noah glanced at them briefly before speaking. What do I need to do to satisfy you, Miss Shun? I raised my brows slightly, appreciating how straightforward he was. Talking to someone smart saves so much trouble. Since she can't stay out of this, why not join me and go with the flow? Noah fell silent, only sighing deeply when footsteps echoed from outside the room. You must promise me Lily's safety. I smiled and raised my hand in reassurance. You have my word. When the college entrance exam results came out, there were mixed emotions everywhere. My results were similar to my last life, and Lily performed excellently, scoring high enough to have her pick of top universities in the country. Ethan, on the other hand, was dumbfounded, because he had skipped the physics multiple choice section. His score was only enough to barely qualify for a second-tier university. He blamed me for it, demanding, "Why didn't you tell Lily about this before the exams?" Feigning innocence, I looked at him and replied, "You told me not to, remember? You didn't want her to feel pressured and specifically asked me to keep it a secret." Ethan knew he was at fault but was still seething, clenching his teeth. But didn't you say her scores would only be good enough for a second-tier school? They weren't that great during the practice exams, I said, scratching my head and sighing. Who knew she'd suddenly outperform herself on the actual test? Ethan stared at his report card, fuming, completely unaware of the truth. In reality, there had been no miraculous performance. It had all been part of our plan. Lily's stellar results were precisely why she had earned the scholarship from my family in the first place. Her lower scores during the mock exams were a deliberate act to manipulate Ethan. Ethan balled his fists tightly, glaring at Lily in the distance. I carefully tugged at his sleeve. Why don't you talk to her and ask if she'll apply to a local university with you? He hesitated. Do you think she'll agree? Of course she will, I said matter-of-factly. You skipped the physics section for her, didn't you? Bolstered by my encouragement, Ethan regained his confidence. With his head held high, he approached Lily. To his shock, she rejected him outright. Their conversation quickly escalated into a heated argument. In a fit of frustration, Ethan revealed the sacrifice he had made for her, skipping an entire section of the exam. He thought such a grand gesture would move her, but instead, it earned him nothing but disdain. Ethan, Lily said coldly, I didn't ask you to do that. Stop patting yourself on the back. No normal person would make such a stupid decision. Ethan froze in place. Their classmates, who overheard the argument, thought he had lost his mind. They mocked him for sabotaging his future over a relationship that wasn't even certain. The once admired golden boy had now become the subject of ridicule, a laughingstock in everyone's eyes. I found it utterly delightful. Lily ultimately chose to attend a prestigious international university. On the day before her departure abroad, I finally told Ethan about Lily leaving the country. When Mrs. Bennet learned about his grand gesture of skipping part of the exam for love, she flew into a rage and forced him to repeat his senior year. She kept him locked at home during this time. Ethan was still fuming when I mentioned Lily's departure. He merely scoffed. What does it have to do with me? I understood his temperament well. One glance was enough to tell that he was only putting on a tough front. Taking out my phone, I showed him a video. After watching it, Ethan's face darkened. My mom caused trouble for Lily? When did this happen? I pressed my lips together, pretending to hesitate. Before the exams. Right before the exams. I had intentionally created an opportunity for Lily to slip up, letting Mrs. Bennet find out about her secret relationship with Ethan. Just as I predicted, Mrs. Bennet had been furious. Behind Ethan's back, she sought out Lily and tried to pay her off to leave. Their conversation hadn't gone well, and in the end, Mrs. Bennet threw coffee all over Lily. To make sure Ethan saw it, I had someone secretly record the entire scene. She doesn't hate you, I said softly, trying to reason with him. Her pride was just hurt. Ethan, if Lily leaves and never comes back, won't you regret it? Ethan gazed out of the window in silence. He didn't respond, but I knew he already had his answer. That evening, it suddenly began pouring rain. I stood by the window, listening to the sound of the storm. Today was a significant day. In my previous life, this was the day Ethan and Lily had eloped. But in this life, Ethan, desperate to stop Lily from leaving, defied everything and escaped from home. The howling wind outside mirrored the wheels of fate turning once more, inching closer to the ending I had set for him. Just like in the previous life, Ethan got into a car accident on his way to the airport. I thought he would die, but fate had other plans. Ethan didn't die. Instead, he lost a leg in the crash. Ethan lost both his love and his health. Mrs. Bennett dropped everything to stay by his side in the hospital, urging him to undergo further treatment. But Ethan refused, declaring bitterly, "If you don't bring Lily back, I'd rather spend the rest of my life as a cripple." Left with no choice, Mrs. Bennett finally relented. She promised that as long as Ethan cooperated with his treatment, she would no longer oppose his relationship with Lily. But a new problem arose. After leaving for her studies abroad, Lily changed all her contact information, making it impossible for Mrs. Bennett to find her. Eventually, Mrs. Bennett remembered that my family had once sponsored Lily's education. She came to me for help. Feigning confusion, I replied, "Didn't you dislike Lily the most? Why would you want to call her now?" In just 2 weeks, Mrs. Bennett looked like she had aged years. Her hair streaked with gray. She sighed deeply, her face worn with exhaustion. "It doesn't matter if I like her or not. Whatever she's done to Ethan, it's like he's under some spell. He's determined to find her. Ethan's my only son. I can't let him spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair." Inside, I sneered. Just losing one leg? That's not enough. Ethan owed me 3 lives. Blood debts must be paid in blood. Grasping her hand in faux sympathy, I said gently, "Don't worry. I have Lily's contact information." I accompanied Mrs. Bennett to the hospital. Ethan was drinking water when we entered. The moment he saw her, he flung the cup in her direction. "Get out. I don't want to see you." In the short time since I'd last seen him, Ethan had changed drastically. Dressed in oversized hospital clothes, his face was pale, his cheekbones prominent, and his eyes sunken. He looked nothing like the once vibrant young man he used to be. Mrs. Bennett's eyes reddened immediately at his outburst. Afraid of provoking him further, she held back her tears and spoke softly. "Son, please stop this. As long as you cooperate with your treatment, I won't stop you from being with Lily anymore." Ethan looked at her, skepticism written all over his face. "Are you serious? What kind of trick are you trying to pull this time?" Ethan growled. "No tricks. No tricks," Mrs. Bennett hurriedly said, pulling me into the hospital room. "Look, I brought Rachel here. I'll have her call Lily for you right now." Under Mrs. Bennett's urging, I dialed Lily's number. After a brief wait, a clear, sweet voice came through the phone. "It's Rachel." Ethan instantly recognized Lily's voice. His eyes, filled with expectation, fixed on my phone as though it held the key to his entire world. I curved my lips into a smile and said into the phone, "Lily, Ethan's mom has agreed to let you two be together. Ethan wants to talk to you. Do you have a moment?" Lily let out a soft laugh. "That's unnecessary. Since the day his mother insulted me with money, I've decided I don't want anything to do with him anymore. I don't love him anymore." No matter how much I tried to persuade her, Lily remained unmoved. I glanced at Ethan lying on the hospital bed. His head was slightly tilted back. His bloodshot eyes filled with a deep, painful sorrow. Suddenly, the phone was snatched from my hand. Mrs. Bennett had reached her breaking point. "You think you're someone special?" she snapped, her suppressed anger finally bursting forth. "A nobody from some rural backwater comes to the city for a few years and starts acting like a princess? My son, Ethan, being interested in you is the best fortune you could ever hope for. And you dare to play hard to get." The line abruptly went dead as Lily hung up. Mrs. Bennett, livid, rolled her eyes and turned to Ethan. Son, are you awake now? You're willing to die for her. But she doesn't even care about you. Listen to me. Stop being so stubborn. Ethan glared at her with unrestrained hatred, grabbing everything within reach and hurling it at her. If it weren't for you meddling, Lily would never have left me. Why don't you just go die? Mrs. Bennet froze in shock, tears streaming down her face. How could you curse your own mother? Everything I've done was for your own good. Outwardly, I tried to play peacemaker, but inside, I relished their fight. The worse their relationship became, the more it benefited my plans. After some coaxing, I managed to get Mrs. Bennet to leave the room, leaving just Ethan and me behind. He clung to my hand desperately, like a drowning man clutching at a straw. Rachel, that wasn't Lily on the phone, was it? My mom found someone to impersonate her, didn't she? Looking at him, I felt a surge of satisfaction. Now he finally understood what it felt like to be abandoned by someone he loved. But compared to the pain he had inflicted on me in our past life, this was nowhere near enough. Gently, I encouraged him. Ethan, focus on healing your leg first. Fighting with your mom isn't going to help your recovery. Ethan scowled. Why are you taking her side? Whose side are you on? Of course, I'm on your side, I reassured him, cautiously glancing toward the door before lowering my voice. But if you don't get better, how will you go find Lily? Hearing this, his expression softened, though his brows soon furrowed again. I'd like to go, but my mom will never agree. There's always a way, I said, patting my chest confidently. Just focus on getting better. Once you're out, grab your passport, leave the money to me. I'll figure it out. Ethan's face lit up with hope. Rachel, I'm so lucky to have you. I returned his smile warmly. We're friends, aren't we? This is what friends do. If fate allowed Ethan to survive the car accident, then I would make sure he suffered even more. I would give him hope, only to take it away piece by piece until he was left in complete despair. After that day, Ethan quieted down for a while. He cooperated with his treatment, stopped insisting on finding Lily, and even mended his relationship with Mrs. Bennet. On the night of his first day home from the hospital, he went to steal his passport. But what happened that night was entirely beyond my control. In my original plan, I planned to help Ethan leave the country. Some things that couldn't be easily handled domestically would be much easier to arrange abroad. Once the money was in place, a staged accident could be arranged. Nothing complicated. But what I hadn't anticipated was that Mrs. Bennet had already been prepared. She caught Ethan red-handed as he tried to steal his passport, and their confrontation escalated into a fierce argument. Ethan, losing all control, grabbed a fruit knife and stabbed her dozens of times. After an emergency surgery, Mrs. Bennet managed to survive, but Ethan was taken away by the police. I immediately called Noah, asking him to find a way to spread the news. To my surprise, he refused. Why? I demanded, confused. This was a golden opportunity for him. If public opinion snowballed, the media would dig into Ethan's past, and Lily would inevitably be implicated. Noah paused briefly before replying. Ethan asked the lawyer to pass a message to you. What did he say? He said you shouldn't worry. When he gets out, he'll take you to see the fireworks at Victoria Harbor. A jolt of shock ran through me, sending a shiver down my spine. Could it be that Ethan was reborn as well? Under Noah's arrangement, the Bennet family's lawyer accompanied me to visit Ethan in the detention center. Ethan's expression was calm, unnervingly so. Even in a holding cell, there wasn't a trace of panic on his face. Instead, when he saw me, his eyes lit up. Rachel, what are you doing here? I couldn't find the words to respond, my fists clenching tightly. My suspicions were correct. Ethan had indeed been reborn. The sharp gaze of a teenager in love was vastly different from the steely, calculating look of someone who had already fought through the brutal world of business. Ethan's sharp eyes noticed something was off. Rachel, don't worry, he said gently, mistaking my unease for fear. I'll be out soon. Taking a deep breath, I told him that I had called Lily. Ethan's face darkened immediately. I quickly added, don't worry. I only told her you suddenly had some trouble. I didn't mention anything else. You don't have to think about her anymore. Ethan's eyes narrowed, their depth making my skin crawl. She and that illegitimate child, Noah, have been working together all along. They've been deceiving us both. His gaze softened as he continued. Rachel, I've seen everything you've done for me. Only you have ever truly cared about me. When I get out, I'll make it up to you. Make it up to me? Ethan owed me 3 lives. What could he possibly do to compensate me for that? My nails dug into my palms, the pain a sharp reminder of my resolve. After leaving the detention center, I went straight to Noah to discuss countermeasures. The situation was worse than I had imagined. Not only was Ethan reborn, but he also knew about Lily and Noah's connection. This was a significant threat to our plans. Noah frowned. Mrs. Bennett is still in the ICU. Her condition is critical, and she's entirely dependent on life support. She has no consciousness whatsoever. My father has already submitted a statement of forgiveness to the police. I sneered. So your father is sacrificing his wife to protect his son? With Mrs. Bennett gravely injured and unable to testify, they can shift the blame to her actions, claiming Ethan acted in a moment of provoked rage. If Ethan pleads guilty and shows remorse, they can argue for reduced charges or even a suspended sentence. Noah chuckled coldly, his tone devoid of emotion. Decisiveness had always been his way. As the scent of tea curled in the air, I took a small sip from my cup and said, even if he gets a reduced or suspended sentence, it will leave a stain on Ethan's record. That alone is enough to ruin him. Noah looked at me, the hint of a challenge in his eyes. And if there was a way to keep Ethan out of prison entirely, do you think Mr. Bennett would go for it? Noah's brows furrowed slightly, surprise flashing in his eyes. Are you suggesting? I raised an eyebrow with a faint smirk. Ethan's situation won't result in more than a 3-year sentence. It's hardly a big deal. Instead of opposing him, why not give him what he wants? Bring him out of this mess, and shatter his dreams later. Mr. Bennett pulled strings to have a fake mental illness diagnosis created for Ethan. The lawyer gathered extensive evidence showing Ethan had suffered severe emotional trauma a year ago, coupled with his car accident, which led to a serious psychological disorder. The court ultimately ruled that Ethan's actions were due to negligence, and that his dissociative disorder rendered him unable to control his behavior during the crime. He was not held criminally responsible. Ethan was quickly released from custody. To maintain appearances, Mr. Bennett sent him to a psychiatric hospital. On the day Ethan was admitted, I visited him. He looked well, full of energy, taking my hand. He gazed at me with a look of deep affection, speaking a torrent of sweet words. I stared at him in silence for a moment before finally asking, Ethan, why the sudden change? You didn't like me before. Ethan froze, a flicker of guilt crossing his face. That's not true. He raised a hand, gently brushing it across my brow and eyes. The truth is, I've always liked you. It just took me a long time to understand my own heart. I know I did a lot of terrible things in the past and hurt you deeply, but please believe me, when I get out, I'll make it up to you. I'll spend my entire life treating you well, and won't let anyone harm you again. I opened my mouth to respond but found myself speechless. How could someone be so shameless? Did he think that just because he was reborn, all the atrocities he committed in his past life could be erased? He only turned to me now because he realized Lily had deceived him. There was no one more repulsive than him. But I never intended for Ethan to leave the psychiatric hospital. Before he was admitted, Noah and I had already spoken with the doctors. They understood the need to pay special attention to Ethan. The Bennett family wasn't short on money, and the treatments, medication, injections, would all be administered without fail. My brother used to insist he wasn't sick and refused to take his medication. I explained to the doctor, we had no choice but to coax him into it. Just do whatever you have to. The doctor nodded knowingly and assured me that Ethan would be well taken care of. Whenever I had free time, I would visit Ethan. His condition steadily deteriorated, becoming more and more like that of a true psychiatric patient. Sometimes, he would complain about his insomnia, lack of appetite, or his uncontrollable bouts of anger. I laughed inwardly. The medication prescribed for him was meant for actual patients. Of course, a normal person would experience side effects. Outwardly, I maintained a gentle demeanor, soothing him. Just hold on for a few more days. Mr. Bennett said he'll take you home once he finishes his current work. But in truth, that day would never come. While Ethan stayed in the psychiatric hospital, Noah was busy as well. Mr. Bennett, already elderly and overworked, suffered a stroke recently and was now hospitalized, paralyzed. With Mr. Bennett incapacitated, Noah, as his legitimate son, naturally stepped into his role. However, some high-ranking executives in the company harbored ulterior motives. They insisted that Ethan, as a member of the Bennett family, also had a stake in the company and demanded his input. To appease them, Noah arranged for a visit to Ethan at the psychiatric hospital. Despite his unstable mental state, Ethan's hatred for Noah remained intact. Pointing directly at Noah, he angrily cursed him as a bastard. The executives, upon hearing this, saw an opportunity. Smiles began creeping onto their faces, but before they could act, a nurse entered the room to give Ethan his scheduled injection. Ethan, of course, resisted. "I'm not sick. I was reborn. Let me out of here," Ethan shouted. "My family's company is still waiting for me to take over." The nurse, unfazed, tried to calm him. All right, take your shot and meds first, and then you can go inherit your company. How about that?" The senior executives who had come with Noah shivered at the sight, quickly finding excuses to leave. Noah, however, lingered. He had one more piece of news to deliver to Ethan. The hospital had just called. Mrs. Bennett had suddenly gone into critical condition, and despite their efforts, the doctors had been unable to save her. She had passed away. Ethan froze, his eyes instantly turning red. Like a madman, he lunged at Noah, looking as if he wanted to tear a piece of flesh from him. I had just stepped out of the elevator when I saw a group of medical staff rushing into Ethan's room. Ethan was soon restrained on the bed, his limbs immobilized. Furious, he shouted, "Noah, you killed my mom. You won't die in peace." Noah sneered. "Get a grip, Ethan. Your mom's death was your doing. Have you already forgotten? That night, you stabbed her 17 times. Ethan suddenly fell silent, his lips trembling uncontrollably as he struggled to speak. When his gaze landed on me standing at the door, his eyes filled with desperation. "Rachel," he whimpered. "He's lying, isn't he? It's not true." "Right. It's true," I said, meeting his hollow gaze as I raised an eyebrow. "The person who killed Mrs. Bennett was you." At my words, something seemed to shatter in Ethan's eyes. I bent over, patting his face lightly. "Why are you making that expression? It's not like this is your first time killing someone." The autumn wind whistled outside as he stared at me, his gaze trembling with fear. "Rachel, what do you mean by that?" I watched his panicked eyes and smiled gently. "Did you know? I once had a dream. I dreamed that you and Lily eloped, but you got into a car accident. Lily died. It was clearly a brake failure, but you blamed her death on me. To get revenge, you married me, took over my family's company, and drove my father to his death. In the end, you forced me to jump from a building. I hit the ground, my blood pooling everywhere, my entire body racked with unbearable pain. I wanted to call for help, but I couldn't speak. All I could do was lie there and bleed out as bystanders screamed." Ethan's pupils contracted sharply. He thrashed violently against his restraints, his voice trembling as he asked, You were reborn too?" I shook my head, feigning confusion. "You really are sick, Ethan. Rebirth? That only happens in novels. I simply had a dream. That's all." Tears streamed down Ethan's face, uncontrollable and endless. I couldn't help but laugh even harder. "It really was a terrifying dream, wasn't it?" I said, patting his face gently. "Don't be scared. It wasn't real. See, I'm standing right here in front of you." But the panic in Ethan's eyes only grew. No. You must have been reborn too. Rachel, listen to me. I was tricked by Lily and Noah. I didn't mean to hurt you. Let me out, and I'll make it up to you. I swear." I smiled brightly and leaned closer. "Do you think I'm stupid? Wasn't being deceived by you once enough? You think I'd let myself be deceived a second time? Ethan, you even betrayed your own mother. Why would I dare to let you go?" Noah approached, his expression neutral. Do you need me to step out for a moment? I shook my head. No need. I've always been honest with my allies. Ethan stared at me in disbelief. You too. That's right. I said calmly. We formed an alliance. From the moment your relationship with Lily became public, every single thing that happened afterward was meticulously planned by us. Why? His voice cracked. You loved me once. I know you did. Yes. I loved you. I said quietly. I truly did. I married the man I had adored since I was young. I naively believed you were a gift from the heavens. Because of your sensitive stomach and picky taste. A girl who didn't even know how to boil noodles, forced myself to learn how to cook. I became good at it. Just for you. I managed everything in our life, trying my best to be a good wife. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I wiped them away with a steady hand. And in return, you destroyed everything I held dear. You killed the people I loved the most. Ethan's face turned ashen. We had a child, he asked, his voice trembling. I laughed bitterly. Yes, but you caused its death. While you watched my father die without lifting a finger, I was in the hospital. The doctor told me I was pregnant. For weeks along. A tiny life, already growing inside me. Why didn't you tell me? He asked, his voice rising in desperation. How could I? I retorted, my tone sharp. Or should I ask, when did you ever give me a chance to tell you? Ethan's face paled further, memories crashing down on him. He must have remembered the day I stormed into his office, demanding to know why he had destroyed my family. He had looked me in the eye and coldly said he had never loved me, that he married me only to avenge the death of his so-called first love. Tears filled his eyes now, but I remained unmoved. After a few moments of silence, he said, Rachel, I was wrong. I know that now. Please, give me another chance. Let's have another child. Together. Please. I slapped him across the face. Twice. Keep dreaming. I spat. Why would I ever have a child with you? You'll never leave this hospital for the rest of your life. Ethan begged, wept, and finally, his desperation turned to rage. Rachel, I'm your husband. You can't treat me like this. If you won't save me, I'll take you down with me. I laughed in his face, completely unfazed. You're only a fish on the chopping block now. You can't hurt me anymore. I turned to leave, adding with a smile, you're clearly getting worse. I'll ask the doctor to increase your medication. 6 months later, Ethan died. The hospital staff said his condition had worsened over time. He was convinced he was reborn and claimed that Noah and I were reborn as well. He was telling the truth, of course, but no one believed him. In the end, he truly became a madman. One night, he jumped from the hospital roof. Witnesses said he wasn't afraid. On the contrary, his face was full of joy as he shouted, I'll be reborn soon. And next time, I'll make all of you pay. I don't know if he succeeded in being reborn again. All I know is that when Noah informed Mr. Bennett of Ethan's death, the man suffered cardiac arrest on the spot. The doctors managed to save him. But Noah remarked bitterly, my father sowed the seeds of his own misdeeds when he was young. Now, he's fated to watch his family fall apart, one by one. That's his punishment. To live a long life filled with pain. When New Year's Eve came, my family and I went to Victoria Harbor to watch the fireworks. The brilliant lights faded as quickly as they appeared. But this time, my family was by my side.